What if I told you the most powerful wand in wizarding history wasn't one of a kind? What if someone could build another Elder Wand today? Most fans think it's impossible, a myth. But the books, they left clues. Hidden, yes, but they're there. And if you know where to look, you'll start asking the same thing I did. What else have we misunderstood about the magical world? Animagus powers, vegan wizards, even death itself. Nothing is as black and white as it seems. So buckle up, because we're diving into questions that even Dumbledore might dodge. Let's talk about Animagi. You know, those wizards who can turn into animals at will, like it's no big deal. Yeah, that's a thing. But here's the kicker. When they're transformed, there's zero evidence they can talk or wave their wands around. So no, you won't see Professor McGonagall casually casting spells as a cat. It's all instinct and fur in there, not incantations and wand flicks. Now, here's where things get murky. Can they transform just one part of their body, like say, grow a tail on command, or turn only their eyes into eagle vision? Well, that's the million-galleon question. Animagi transformations seem to be all or nothing, but partial transfiguration? That's another story. Remember when Hermione grew beaver teeth in Goblet of Fire? That wasn't animagus magic, but it shows it's not impossible. And then there's the big practical issue. How do Animagi even maintain human-level thought when they're in animal form? Sirius didn't forget he was Sirius while he was a dog, after all. Yet no one's out there giving lectures as a beetle. Rita Skeeter just eavesdropped and scribbled away. Maybe they keep their minds, but expressing anything beyond barking or buzzing? Not so much. It makes you wonder. If a wizard got stuck mid-transformation, like tail out but still talking, would they be banned from the ministry cafeteria? There's probably a whole department at the Department of Magical Accidents and Catastrophes that exists just for those awkward, oops, I'm half ferret moments. If there's no clear rule book, it's because wizards keep making new mistakes. But, hey, if magic is that unpredictable in transformations, imagine what it does when it meets Muggle tech. Strange how Hogwarts just happens to be a dead zone for cell signals, right? Ever tried using a smartphone at Hogwarts? Good luck with that. The place is basically a giant no-service zone, thanks to layers upon layers of ancient protective enchantments. You could have the latest iPhone with 6G, doesn't matter. The moment you step through those castle gates, it's like entering a magical Bermuda Triangle. No signal, no Wi-Fi, and definitely no TikTok dances in the common room. Now, you'd think Muggleborns would struggle with this, right? I mean, they grow up with Google, Instagram, microwave popcorn, then boom, quills and parchment. But here's the funny part. Most of them don't even miss it. Magic is that cool. You don't really care about your Nintendo Switch when someone just taught you how to levitate a feather. Priorities shift fast when your homework involves dragons and potion fumes. Of course, it's not all sunshine and floating candles. There are probably a few Muggleborns who sneak in gadgets just to feel connected, maybe a Walkman charm to play even in anti-tech zones, but those things tend to explode or melt mysteriously. Arthur Weasley's obsession with plugs suddenly makes a lot more sense now, doesn't it? Magic and tech are like oil and water, or worse, Mentos and soda. Still, there's something poetic about it. In a world where everything's getting faster and more digital, Hogwarts stands still, not outdated, timeless. You don't need a screen when portraits literally talk to you, and if you want to message someone, well, there's always owl mail. Slow? Sure, but way more dramatic than a text. And speaking of things that don't quite fit in their world, how do you think Remus Lupin felt? Raising a child while dealing with, well, a certain monthly transformation. Now imagine being Remus Lupin. Brilliant mind, kind heart, and once a month, a literal werewolf. Add a baby to that equation, and you've got enough anxiety to fill a room of requirement. His fear wasn't just about changing diapers, it was about passing on the curse. But here's the truth. Lycanthropy isn't genetic. It's transmitted by bite, not blood. Still, try telling that to a man who spent his whole life feeling like a monster. The thing is, Lupin's fear runs deeper than science, or magic for that matter. It's about shame. He's lived on the margins, treated like a threat even when he was at his most human. So of course he panicked at the idea of being a father. What if he wasn't enough? What if his child saw the worst in him and turned away? It's that classic, I'm afraid I'll ruin everything just by being me kind of fear. Oof. But here's where it gets touching. Tonks didn't care, and their son, Teddy, didn't inherit the curse. Instead, he got something arguably more powerful, a legacy of bravery wrapped in tenderness. Lupin fought for a world that might finally accept someone like him. His fear didn't stop him. It made him human, flawed, yes, but fiercely loving. And let's be real, Lupin wasn't the only one navigating the mess of identity and acceptance. The entire wizarding world tends to shove uncomfortable truths under the rug, hoping nobody trips. Lycanthropy is just one of many stigmas. The fact that Hogwarts wouldn't keep him on staff full-time says a lot, doesn't it? Speaking of things the wizarding world quietly brushed aside, whatever happened to Fantastic Beasts? Blink twice and poof, it's gone. Remember, when Fantastic Beasts was supposed to be a 5-part epic? Yeah, about that. It's been radio silence since 2022. No new trailers, no surprise announcements, not even a cheeky tweet from J.K. Rowling herself. It's like the franchise got locked in a vault at Gringotts and someone lost the key. Fans keep hoping, rewatching. The Secrets of Dumbledore like it's going to whisper some hidden message about a sequel. Spoiler, it doesn't. The thing is, the series had potential. A globe-trotting magical adventure, the early days of Dumbledore and Grindelwald, a quirky protagonist who loved magical creatures more than people, that could have worked. But somewhere along the way, it got tangled in too many plot lines. Not enough payoff, and let's not even start on the cast changes. When your main villain keeps changing faces, you've got a problem, especially when he's supposed to be terrifying. Still, the fans are loyal. Maybe too loyal. There's this lingering hope that Warner Bros. Will wave a wand and suddenly Fantastic Beasts 4 will appear out of thin air. It's the classic fandom heartbreak. You want to believe, even when all signs point to nah. Some say they're just waiting for the right time. Others think the story quietly got obliterated. Either way, it's emotional whiplash, and you can't help but wonder, was the silence part of the plan, or did they just give up? The wizarding world is massive, yet this particular corner seems to have closed its doors without saying goodbye. It's like someone turned off the lights in the middle of a spell, awkward and unexplained. Speaking of unexplained, have you ever wondered why no one's duplicating people with magic? If you can multiply goblets, why not humans? Here's something that keeps magical theorists up at night. If you can duplicate a chair, a coin, or even a slice of pie, why not a person? Seems logical, right? But when it comes to living beings, the rules get fuzzy, real fast. There's no known spell in the wizarding world that cleanly duplicates a human. Not in the books, not in the films. And considering how often wizards like to break the laws of nature, that silence speaks volumes. Now sure, we've seen magical objects multiply. Remember the Lestrange vault in Deathly Hallows? Touch one cup, and suddenly you're drowning in cursed treasure. But those weren't people, and those copies weren't real. They were unstable and dangerous. Imagine duplicating a person that way. Would the clone melt? Go insane? Constantly scream? Not exactly something you'd want wandering around Hogwarts. The ethical questions are enormous, too. If you copy someone, is the duplicate a person? Do they have rights? Could you create an army of Dumbledores and solve every global crisis before lunch? Tempting, but terrifying. The magical community likely avoids this mess for good reason. It's less about can we, and more about should we. And judging by the Ministry's tight-lipped attitude on this, the answer is probably no. Even transfiguration, the big brother of magical manipulation, has its limits. You can turn a mouse into a teacup, but you can't turn one wizard into two. Not unless you're dabbling in some seriously dark stuff. And if there's one thing the books teach us, it's that magic always has a cost. You might duplicate a body, but the soul? That's a whole different kind of magic, and much harder to fake. And speaking of souls, that brings us to a much deeper, darker mystery. What really happens after a wizard dies? Ah yes, the big question. What happens after death? Even in a world where portraits talk, ghosts float, and souls can be split like pizza slices, the after remains a mystery. But one moment stands out. Harry's near-death experience in Deathly Hallows, that dreamlike King's Cross scene. It wasn't just symbolic. Dumbledore was there, whole, peaceful, wise as ever, and that writhing, broken thing under the bench, that was a soul torn by dark magic. If that's not a peek into the afterlife, I don't know what is. Now, most wizards seem pretty chill about death, until it knocks. The existence of ghosts suggests that sticking around is an option, but it's not exactly glamorous. I was afraid of death, nearly headless Nick says. I chose to remain behind. It's not eternal life, it's eternal unfinished business. So yeah, you might get to haunt your enemies, but don't expect to attend your own funeral with popcorn. Then, there's the resurrection stone. What it summons isn't quite the dead, more like echoes of who they were. They're not truly back, just a magical memory, full of sadness. It's beautiful and haunting, which is basically the tagline of the Harry Potter series. But it also tells us something. Whatever lies beyond, it's not something magic can fully touch. Not even the most powerful artifacts can yank someone back all the way. And here's where things get real philosophical. If Muggle souls and wizard souls go to the same place, does that mean magic has no bearing on what's next? Or is there a separate cosmic queue for people who can fly on brooms? The books don't say. But they do hint that some things, love, sacrifice, death, exist beyond spells and incantations. Some things are just final. Unless, of course, you've got two wands. Because when one isn't enough, well, you know where this is going. So, dual-wielding wands, badass or just plain impractical? Most wizards stick to one wand for a reason. It's not just tradition, it's compatibility. Wands are picky, like cats, with wood and phoenix feathers. But every now and then, someone shows up who says, nah, one's not enough. Harry once used Draco's wand after losing his own, and it worked. And in Fantastic Beasts, we see Narlac casually dual-wielding, like it's Tuesday. So, is it allowed? Technically, yes, but it's complicated. Think about it. Wands choose the wizard, remember? They bond. So trying to control two at once is like juggling two very moody relationships, both with trust issues. Sure, in theory, you could cast with both hands, but how would you focus? What if one wand is better at jinxes and the other specializes in charms? You might accidentally hex your own eyebrow off trying to multitask. And let's not forget the wand lore. Ollivander would probably break out in hives at the thought. Wands are deeply personal, and using more than one at a time might dilute that connection. Or worse, what if they resisted each other? Picture a left-hand wand firing a stunning spell, while your right-hand wand blocks it. Congratulations, you've just cursed your own kneecap. But if someone could actually master it, they'd be unstoppable. Dual spell casting, counter curses in real time, back-to-back protagos. It's a duelist's dream. Still, there's a reason we haven't seen it more often. The magical world tends to avoid what it can't explain or control. And two wands? That's double the chaos, double the risk. Then again, change is coming. And speaking of changes, have you heard what they're doing with the new Harry Potter series? The reboot. Nothing stirs the cauldron like a fresh take on a beloved classic. HBO's new Harry Potter series promises to be more faithful to the books. Every tiny subplot, every overlooked detail. Sounds like a dream, right? But of course the internet did what it does best. Panic. One of the first confirmed changes? Snape's ethnicity. And just like that, everyone forgot magic was the main point of this universe. Now, let's be honest, Snape being portrayed by a different actor, possibly with a different background, doesn't rewrite the tragedy of his story. He's still the complicated, tormented man who always loved Lily, who walked a razor's edge between heroism and cruelty. Changing his appearance doesn't change his essence. The man is still a walking heartbreak wrapped in greasy hair and sarcasm. Look, adaptations evolve. The books aren't going anywhere. You can reread Half-Blood, rinse 100 times and still feel the gut punch of Sectum Sempra. The series isn't here to erase that. It's here to reimagine it for a new generation. And if that means casting someone unexpected, well, wasn't Dumbledore himself recast? Twice? Nobody batted an eye after Michael Gambon nailed it. What matters most is the integrity of the story. Keep the soul of it intact, the themes, the relationships, the emotional beats, and most fans will stick around. Magic isn't in the special effects. It's in the lessons we took with us. Loyalty, loss, courage, and a certain red-haired boy who always tried his best, bless him. Speaking of trying your best, how would a wizard even try to be vegan in a world where your potion ingredients literally scream? So, can a wizard be vegan? In theory, yes. In practice, well, it's like trying to make a dragon give up fire. The magical world is full of animal-based ingredients. Unicorn hair, phoenix feathers, dragon liver, and don't even get me started on the use of powdered horn. It's everywhere. Potions, wands, even robes. For a vegan wizard, Hogwarts must feel like a medieval butcher shop with spellbooks. But let's say someone tried. Maybe a particularly determined Hufflepuff wants to brew a cruelty-free polyjuice potion. Good luck. That thing calls for leeches and boomslang skin. You can't exactly substitute those with kale and good intentions. Still, in a world full of charms and transfiguration, who's to say a vegan alternative couldn't be developed? Magical innovation tends to happen when someone's fed up enough. Now don't forget, being magical doesn't automatically mean you're heartless. There are centaur rights, house elf rights, thanks Hermione, and even laws protecting werewolves, eventually. So a vegan movement in the wizarding world? It's not that far-fetched. Maybe it's not mainstream yet, but some quietly rebellious. Witch is probably out there crafting herbal tinctures and whispering, "No animals were harmed in the making of this potion." The bigger question is, how much of magic is ethical by modern standards? If your power depends on harvesting magical creatures, where do you draw the line? At what point does a potion become exploitation? It's a fascinating crossroads between tradition and morality. And in a world that resists change, vegan wizards might be the next revolution. Tiny, plant-based, and absolutely opinionated. And speaking of moral choices, remember when Hermione blamed herself for the troll incident? Yeah, that wasn't just about bravery, it was about something deeper. Let's rewind to year 1, Halloween, troll in the dungeon, chaos everywhere, and in the middle of it all, Hermione Granger, curled up in a bathroom, crying. After Ron's offhand, "No wonder she hasn't got any friends" comment, she isolates herself. Classic overachiever spiral. Then comes the troll, and Ron and Harry barge in like underqualified rescue workers. They somehow survive, and what does Hermione do? She lies. She tells McGonagall it was her fault. Now, technically, it wasn't. She didn't lure the troll in or invite chaos for dinner. But Hermione takes the blame. Why? Loyalty. That moment marked the beginning of a friendship that would define the series. She put herself on the line for 2 boys who, until 5 minutes ago, hadn't exactly been kind. It wasn't logical. It was emotional. And for Hermione, that was huge. It also speaks volumes about who she is. She's not just the cleverest witch of her age. She's fiercely loyal, self-sacrificing, and yes, sometimes too hard on herself. Her guilt wasn't necessary, but it was human. We've all done it, haven't we? Taken blame just to keep peace, or to protect someone, even when we didn't have to. Hermione's moment in the bathroom became a turning point. That troll didn't just bring danger, it brought unity. From that point on, the trio was forged, not through magical destiny, but through shared fear, courage, and guilt. That's the real magic, isn't it? The kind that makes people choose each other, flaws and all. And while Hermione often carried the weight of everyone's mistakes, this was the first time we saw how deeply she felt things beneath that brilliant exterior. Of course, speaking of dark and brooding types, there's one creature the books barely talk about, but everyone's curious about: vampires. So, vampires exist in the wizarding world, but blink and you'll miss them. They're more myth than presence, popping up in background references like Sanguini at Slughorn's party and Half-Blood Prince. He's described as pale and a bit too interested in someone's neck. That's it. No drama, no lore, no epic Twilight-style brooding. They're treated more like weird, distant relatives than a real threat. Honestly, Filch feels more dangerous. The books don't spell out if vampires can be wizards or if wizards can become vampires. Maybe they're separate branches of magical humanity. Or maybe it's like lycanthropy, something that happens to you. Either way, no one's casting spells with fangs. The idea of a vampire using a wand sounds epic, but there's zero evidence it happens. It's like Rowling dropped them in just to tease us. Yes, they exist. No, I won't elaborate. Good luck. But the hints we do get aren't flattering. Vampires are portrayed as dark, creepy, and, well, not exactly Hogwarts faculty material. Which is ironic, considering they share the same magical world as centaurs, giants, and werewolves, all of whom have some representation. Vampires? They just slink around cocktail parties and probably get kicked out before dessert. Makes you wonder if the ministry has a blood bank registry labeled "Do Not Trust." That being said, there's potential. Imagine a vampire professor, immortal, wise, maybe a bit snarky, teaching dark arts with first-hand experience. The fan fiction writes itself. But canon? Nada. Rowling left that coffin tightly sealed. Maybe to keep things simple. Or maybe because exploring vampirism would open too many philosophical cans of blood. Sorry, worms. Still, while we're speculating about powerful, mysterious forces, let's talk about something just as elusive and even more coveted: the Elder Wand. Or better yet, what if someone tried to make another one? Now here's a spicy thought. What if someone tried to make a new Elder Wand? Not find it. Not steal it, but actually craft one from scratch. Sounds impossible, right? But then again, the original was made once, so why not again? The Elder Wand is said to be unbeatable, forged by Death himself, or so the legend goes in the tale of the three brothers. But maybe it wasn't Death. Maybe it was just one very clever, very unhinged wizard who understood magic in a way no one else could. The real mystery lies in its core and construction. Elderwood is rare but not unheard of. Thestral hair? That's the tricky part. You have to have seen Death, truly understood it, to even see a Thestral. That alone makes it one of the most emotionally demanding wand cores ever. So it's not just about ingredients, it's about intent, experience, maybe even trauma. You don't accidentally build an Elder Wand. You become the kind of person who could. Grigorovich tried to replicate it and failed. Ollivander called it the most powerful wand ever made, but never hinted at how to make one. That tells us something. Power like that doesn't come from tools. It comes from knowledge no one's supposed to have. The wand may be a symbol, but the magic behind it? That's ancient, deep, and probably illegal in 10 magical countries. And here's the wild part. If someone did manage to make a new Elder Wand, would it be just as powerful? Or would it be something else entirely? Strong, yes, but different. Could a wand crafted today, with modern materials and modern minds, ever carry the same mythic weight? Maybe. Or maybe that kind of magic only happens when history and legend collide in just the right moment. But that's the question, isn't it? Could the impossible be possible? Again? So, what do you think? Could someone out there actually create a wand to rival the Elder Wand? Or is that kind of magic forever lost to legend? I want to hear your thoughts. Drop them in the comments. Let's debate, question, speculate. And if this made you rethink everything you thought you knew about the wizarding world, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We've got plenty more magic and mystery coming your way. And hey, if you want to dive even deeper into the mind behind it all, click the video on your screen now. Dumbledore's dark side, heroic legend, or master of manipulation. It might just change how you see him forever.